Have you ever seen a scene from a Chinese fantasy drama with sword flying through the clouds or a reclusive master meditating on a misty peak? What if I told you these worlds weren't entirely made up? Today, Chinese fantasy isn't just about the past. It's one of the most popular genres in modern culture. Web novels about cultivation or sea dramas are filled with young cultivators mastering magic, dueling sects, and seeking immortality. So where did this immortal realm come from? These ideas were born from ancient mythology, from strange creatures in the classic of mountains and seas, to Wukong's magical powers in Journey to the West. And through it all, the mountains became the nature home of immortals. When peaks vanish into the clouds, the scene feels detached from the human world, a living image of xianxia or immortal energy. But these stories didn't come out of nowhere. They grew from the belief that the realm of immortals exists on real mountains. In ancient times, monks and hermits would retreat deep into the mountains, living in seclusion, refining elixirs, and searching for herbs said to grant eternal life. Though these were legends, they all came from the Taoist pursuit of immortality. By living close to nature, these hermits embody a way of life entirely different from ordinary people. That difference sparked the imagination. People believe they have superhuman strength, or even the power to fly. And in Chinese legend, there are tales of real people who achieve immortality. They were said to live on actual mountains. One such place is Huangshan, known in legend as the mountain where the Yellow Emperor himself saw immortality. That's why it's called the Yellow Mountain. Huangshan is often seen as a real-life blueprint for Chinese fantasy. Its landscapes, jagged granite peaks, seas of clouds, and twisted pine trees look like they were sculpted for a story about immortals. There's the famous Flying Rock, a massive boulder balanced on a cliff, as if a cultivator had placed it there with magic. Other iconic sites include narrow sky corridors and stairways that seem to vanish into the clouds. For centuries, Huangshan was known mainly as a sacred place of Buddhism and Taoism. But in the 17th century, a monk named Pullman carved trails into the mountains, opening them to ordinary travelers for the very first time. From then on, Huangshan appeared again and again in paintings and poetry, becoming a muse for generations of scholars and artists. One of the most famous travelers was Xianxia, who explored the mountain over 400 years ago. He recorded his journeys in detailed travel notes, almost like one of China's first travel bloggers. His writings helped make Huangshan a cultural icon, a place that even today tens of thousands of people still consider a must-see destination. But the truth is, climbing Huangshan has never been easy. Not everyone has the strength or persistence of Xianxia to become a real-life cultivator. So how do people today reach the peaks? The answer might surprise you. They build cable cars, a suspended monorail that glides along the cliffs, and even plank trails bolted into the rock face, most famously through the Xihai Grand Canyon. Now you can rise to the summit in minutes, almost like a real-world version of sword flying. And the hanging trails let you walk among the clouds themselves. But even with today's technology, the final journey still demands a hike. Sometimes it's long stairways that seem endless, and sometimes it's climbs so steep they feel more like trails than trails. What's often overlooked is how these paths were built. Every beam, every stone was once carried up the mountain by hand, step by step on the backs of workers. Even today, you can still see the porters of Huangshan carrying loads with a bamboo pole across their shoulders. Food, hotel supplies, even construction materials, all the way up to the top. Many are already in their 50s or older, and yet they climb these slopes 3 or 4 times a day, sometimes hauling as much as 60 kilos on their backs. For them, the treacherous mountain road is just another workday. Perhaps they are the true cultivators of our time, enduring hardships and walking paths most of us could never imagine. But this tradition is slowly fading. Fewer and fewer take on such backbreaking work, and today drones are starting to ease that burden, bring supplies up the mountain instead of human shoulders. So what does cultivation mean today? Maybe cultivation was never about escaping the human world at all. Maybe it's about how myth and reality continue to meet here on these peaks. And that's why Huangshan still feels like the closest thing we have to an immortal realm.